The String Ninjas Podcast.
Come get some. Don't have time to play with myself.
Take it easy. We're the good guys.
Hail to the king, baby.
The String Ninjas Podcast.
You guys got
It is like a finger pointing away to the moon. Wrong angle. And then you come.
Alright folks, how's it going? Welcome to another edition of the String Ninjas Podcast, Season 2, firmly underway. I don't know what episode this is actually anymore because we're recording them randomly. But this week we have the wonderful Sara Dillon. Woo! Insert applause here. Sara, how the fucking ruddy hell are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling pretty chilled these days. Sort of slowed down over the last year,
Yeah,
and I'm
like us
in no
all.
rush to speed up again, actually.
I know that's I think we were talking the other week about that and we're just like, you want to get back to work, but you don't want to get back to work just
Yeah.
because it's so fucking
I want to
boring.
get the money. I don't want to have to make the effort
Yeah.
to do the thing.
We'd be suited as French aristocrats, you know. They say in Blackadder, he goes, how would you like to earn some money? He goes, I wouldn't. I'd like somebody else to earn it and then just give it to me.
Is
That's
right.
essentially what you're after in life, anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Sara was in quite a number of programmes filmed here, most famously Game of Thrones. We will be asking you about your conspiracy theories and how you planted them in the general public and all like that there. And what was the few other ones? The Fall? Well, you know them all.
Most
You-
recently, Line of Duty.
Line of Duty, yeah.
Cracking.
All these shows that I was looking through your bio and I was like going, wow, they're all really big shows and I haven't watched a single one of them. I don't watch TV. It's kind of strange, like, but you do. So that's
So we can talk.
Yeah, you just can talk. I'll sit in the back and look pretty here. So
No, I never watched The Fall. Nothing to do with you. It's just I've just never watched it. I think I just
filmed it in the
subconsciously don't
Cathedral Quarter,
like
didn't they?
Jamie Thornton. I was about to say I don't like Jamie Thixton. Completely different guy.
that's you. That's
Rising
you.
kicking.
Next thing you're going to be telling me you don't like Pat Sharp.
I've met Patcher.
Yeah.
And the twins.
And that's why you don't like him. It's the twins. What's Pat Sharp called the twins? Who's that referring to?
No,
the two
from Funhouse.
girls.
Yeah,
Does he just travel around with them?
Yeah, no, they legit did. When I went to uni, there was like a circuit. Timmy Mallet was on it, and you'd like to be different entertainers. And one
Mr.
week,
Blobby
Pat
and Noel
Sharp,
Edmonds.
Pat Sharp and the twins came to our student union, and like they'd have you up on stage doing.
That's insane.
There was no gunge, which I was very annoyed about. But you know,
Okay.
Timmy Mallet was a wee bit weird because
Yeah.
he sang the song, you know, "Itsy Bitsy Teeny Weeny Yellow Polka Dot Bikini."
A like 50-year-old man in a room full of
Aye.
students.
And yeah, we have. It was so weird. There's like Chesney Hawkes would show up and sing the one and only.
And then fuck off.
And that because he only had the one song. Or Tiffany would mime too. I think we're alone now. And you're like, Tiffany, for fuck's sake, come on! I've had a fiver in here. I want to hear the real thing.
Speaking of singing, very accomplished singer.
Yeah.
You've been working with what's his face?
Nick Boyle.
Nick Boyle. I always forget Nick. Nick, I'm so sorry because I love you and you know I love you.
He has glorious locks.
He has a bag that haunts me.
Yeah, it's a good bag.
He has
It
a
is.
bag that haunts me. It just came into my mind there that he has this bag that just fucking this leather satchel that just appears everywhere.
He looks
classy.
like a substitute. He does look like a substitute, like history teacher or something.
Yeah,
Doesn't
he should
has
be on
that
Horrible
vibe.
Histories. But yeah, so we'll be listening. That's how I knew you first and foremost is through your music. A few I've done a very bad thing. What was the bad thing, by the way?
Oh, the bad thing. The bad thing was actually about having suicidal thoughts.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, it's about thinking something bad, not being able to get it out of your
Fuck
head.
that. Was a
So,
turn.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The lights went down on that one. But no, that's there we go. I know.
But, like,
not
it's
the
a cheerful
aspect.
melody.
Yeah, I think that's what's so like it throws you off because you're like, I thought it was like a bad thing, you know, like got together with somebody I shouldn't have, you know, had a wee cheeky fag behind the bike sheds type of
Yeah,
thing.
well,
But
I wanted to be. I thought if I make it a bit vague, then people can decide for themselves what the bad
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
in their mind is.
Okay,
and,
there you go.
It's just about a bad thing you can't get out of your
in
head.
a weird way, it's an audience. It allow the audience to reflect upon themselves.
Yeah, do a bit of soul searching. You know,
Oh,
be a
yeah,
bit
see,
creative.
deep. This is
invite
deep.
them to get involved in the process.
People say we don't have layers.
No, we're the onions of the music
Yeah.
world, so we are. Both like in our
I
taste
thought we
and
were-
smell.
We're more like fricassee.
Fricassee? What the fuck's a
I
fricassee?
don't know. Some
Okay.
kind of way of doing vegetables, I guess.
Okay, so we're vegetables.
We're
is
diced,
what-
we're diced.
vegetables and butter. That's about right, all right. But yeah, so anything that has been keeping you going through lockdown, or
I've been really busy working actually. I really leaned into the teaching.
Oh, brilliant. Happy days.
I've always done a bit of teaching, but I've been really busy with teaching. On Zoom, I was telling Mick earlier, lots of Zoom sessions.
Oh, yeah.
And in person, I sit in a Perspex box at the bottom of my teaching space and people come in and out. And,
That's so strange.
I don't
It
see
is,
the
yeah.
man. You're just wheeled in the box.
She's like, you should dress up as the Pope someday and just sit there. He's not going to start
like
absolving sins and all. Yeah, would you never think of doing that? Doing like today I'm going to freak the fuck out of my students. I'm going to, I'm going to teach them, but I'm going to be,
Do it in character.
do it in character. It's like you'd be coming in and be like, who the fuck's you going to be today? And you're like sitting there and you're like,
yeah.
the Yorkshire Ripper or something. Your hair all up in a quiff and a big knife in your hand.
What specifically are you teaching?
Acting,
There you go.
mostly, yeah.
There you go, too. Scare the fuck out of them and make them cry, and at the
Teach
end just
them
go,
how to
I'm so
react."
convincing.
Oh no, you wanna create a safe space for people to open up.
But that's what the plastic box is for. So your woman at Science and Lamps felt safe whenever Hannibal Lecter was in that big Perspex box. There's your next one. Hannibal Lecter. What's your student, like a student's name? Like David. Hello, David. It's good to see you again.
Do you know, this is the difference between teachers nowadays and teachers when I was a kid. Sarah's right, create a safe space where the student can feel comfortable and they can learn in a safe environment.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to get nails put in the back of the neck of my violin in case, so to keep the arm, like, legit, true story.
Your safe space is just above the
Just,
nail.
yeah, just so you, because if you play it with a flat hand, you'd be out of tune, so it was to teach you to keep
Yeah.
the arm like that.
Brutal.
Yeah, North Belfast, 8 years of age.
You must have a terrible wank technique.
Different hand.
You just can't. There you go. That's it.
There we
Look
are.
how well it
It's
served you, It obviously worked.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I wish all other aspects of my life that have been applied to. I probably would have turned out to be a much better
I'm
person.
going to put nails into your seat in the geography fucking classroom so you know which capital cities we're going to be doing this week. Like, how else could you do?
Anyway.
This is the way my dad was taught. My dad actually went to school in Africa. He went to a big, it was like miles away from where his parents lived as well. So he was at this boarding school from the age of 7 and it was all run by priests. And he said the maths teacher would just walk around the class and ask you a question. And if you got it wrong, he would just punch the kids in the face. But like he's so good at maths.
That's because he's got PTSD. Fucking countdown must be a fucking nightmare in your house. Rachel Reddy takes out the numbers. Not the numbers, Rachel. Not the numbers. Bring me the letters, please.
That's just one of the many things wrong with the Catholic Church today as well. Because Tommy Kieran does that bit. He's like, when you go to a church and there's like this like well moisturized priest telling you this, gospel in such a soft spoken way, and you think, no, I want that. The beast from Africa, who looks like the
Father
decisions,
Jack.
the decisions he's made in his life had
That's
an
what you're
effect
after.
on his face. You know what I mean?
He's weathered.
He's weathered.
That's so strange. So is your dad like South African?
No, he grew up in East Africa.
Okay.
He was born in England, but he didn't live there for very long. He grew up in Africa and then moved to America. Oh, no, he moved to England for a while and then America, and he's been here since like the 70s.
See, I thought you were going to say something like, no, he like lived in Belfast. It's just when I meant his parents sent him to school miles away.
Oh, right,
they
no.
sent him to fucking Africa.
It was a different African country.
Okay, right. That's there you go. That's strange. My dad's from Newcastle.
That'll learn you.
No, he's from Garnick Way on Blacks Road. That's my dad's from. So not as exotic as or eventful.
Still much wildlife. Though.
There was quite a lot of wildlife. There used to be horses up there, so before they ate them all. But yeah, that's strange. I miss the maths down in Africa.
No, we're not doing it.
No, okay.
don't
I thought you were going to
sing.
harmonise with
This
me
is
there.
why we don't sing.
No. I was slagging Peter McVeigh. He won't listen to this, so fuck you.
He's too cheap to go behind the paywall.
No, he won't. But he was saying, I don't know, but this like when you're doing gigs, do you ever see people that have iPads when they're doing gigs, and it's like all the chords and the songs are there, and I'm like, I says to him, call me old fashioned, but I kind of like to learn the songs.
Yeah.
Even if somebody comes up and says, do you know the song? And you're going, well, I could work it out. It may be a half-assed attempt. And I think in the long run, you let yourself down. You'd be like, I'd rather go and learn it and come back. But he was like, nah, I do 4-hour gigs and I take requests, so I have to have an iPad with a thing. I was like, I'd rather just learn 4 hours worth of music.
Yeah.
Would you?
If I'm playing something live, I have to know it. I have to know it well enough
Yeah.
because otherwise it's the mistakes. I make mistakes all the time anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's it.
I need to know it off by heart. If I don't know it off by heart, then I wouldn't play it in front of people, to be honest.
You
Because
tend to have written what you're singing.
yeah,
as
generally,
well.
yeah. But covers I find much harder to learn than my own music.
Aye.
So even more so, I would have to practice and learn them and work them out. Otherwise, I'd definitely just go to bits.
Do you find like the reason I always found like doing covers quite hard is because you have your own style? Because I like we were saying to Amy the other day when we were talking about because she's very similar to me. Like she skipped all. There's the trajectory of any instrument or any like guitar player where you're like you pick up your guitar, you learn your few chords, and then you learn a rake of songs. But we both her and I skipped that. We learned the chords and then started writing our own stuff.
Same here.
So you develop your own style before you learn about other people's. So then whenever it came to me to do covers, I was like, he does up, down, and I do down, and I do BY, turn around, XY, this sort of thing. And I always found that very, very difficult to do, whereas now I can't write stuff, but I can learn covers really quickly. So it's a bit of a weird turnaround.
I'd like to say I've helped you.
You killed my creativity, I'll give you that much. So.
But didn't your bank account thank me for it?
It didn't. Well, not my bank account. The one on the Cayman Islands was happy though. So, So, do you find that when you're writing stuff, or because you've never really done proper bar gigs? You know what I mean? If that's it's a bit of an oxymoron of a.
No, I know. I've a few times I've done cover sets for particular gigs, but it doesn't excite me enough to really make me want to go out and do it.
Okay.
Because. I'm a little bit of a reluctant performer in some ways, and then it's like with my own music, it's like, okay, I've got to play this. I've written it. I've put all of this work into it. Been practicing with Nick most of the time. It's like you feel like you've got to do something with it, and so that's enough to get me out there. But the self-promotion side of everything is
disgusting.
Is so hard.
Yeah.
So
I always liken it to like it's called like swinging your musical dick. Like you want it. You're like, my dick's really big and nice and all, but in your heart there's better dicks out there, so you're kind of like you're at this like weird place. This is the way I relate it to myself. You're like swinging your musical dick because you want people to be like, that's a fucking great dick, come do my gig. Do you know what I mean? But if in your heart of hearts there's always somebody better than you somewhere.
If you're able to swing your dick, just go into porn.
No, but there'd be better music if I did that. There'd be much better music if I went into porn. It'd be literally to do soundtracks. There would be no acting on my part.
But it's much easier. It must be much easier, to swing your musical dick when you've got somebody else that you're working with. Because when it's not like you. Because when it's just you, it's like, I'm Gavin Ferris. But when it's like, we're the String Ninjas, it's like this other entity, and it's much easier to tell people book us.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Actually, yeah, because it is like, in relation to the dick, it's a joint dick at this stage.
It's a double ender.
You can always give somebody else a compliment better than you can compliment yourself. Do you know what I mean? So there you go. So that's why I've de-aged, because you just shower me with compliments.
No. Although I am the good-looking one and you are the talented one.
I know it's the bait and switch.
Yeah. So no, but you were a better player before I came along, and I've worsened. No, but it's true.
You started putting nails behind my fucking fretboard.
No, but you were, but that was more to do with the style.
I don't think it was better, because I think I'm much better now, but I think in terms of creativity, I'm terrible.
You were more specialised, maybe.
Niche is the word, the niche.
Niche is just it's a jazz term for shit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No.
Well, it can be. It could be a very...
Depends how you say it, doesn't
it? It's context is key. But the funny, I was just going to say, in terms of jazz, learning covers, because you are a jazzy... Like, it's always like that jazzy sort of chord to all your music. Mm-hmm. So, like, a lot of covers that people are wanting to hear are not... Unless you just did like fucking Etta James and Nina Simone.
Well, that's
full
it.
Sets, like,
a few times Nick and I have learned covers. We're going, we'll do this cover, and then it's like nobody has heard of this song. So, I mean, sometimes it's fun to do like jazzy covers of 80s stuff as well, and have a bit of fun with that. And then people, I know that song. But a lot of the time, the covers we do, nobody's heard of anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, you may as well just claim it as your song.
Well, yeah, one person might go, I've heard that before.
That is a very niche thing, and I don't mean that in his way, but that is very niche to like sort of one person crowd.
I suppose the only place in Belfast where that would really suit it is like Birch Jazz Bar. But then I like that, because I go to Birch Jazz Bar and it's like just somebody's opened up the Great American Songbook and worked their way through it.
You know what they expect.
A trumpet solo and ruins it for everybody.
Like, you're not going to go to Birch Jazz Bar and hear fucking ska or reggae or something like that.
Because I enjoy playing jazz more than anything else. But
I love the way you bust into those jazz solos during our set. It's like, I just thought you were getting it wrong all these years, but no, it's jazz, mate.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the places that we play in, it's not really suitable.
Yeah.
But I personally, like, Stefan Grappelli is my favourite ever violinist, and he was a jazz violinist. Do you know?
Funny, I learned a little thing about jazz the other day. On Instagram of all places, in like either like wee 30-second clips on the IGTV, and it was basically a guy talking about the two different types of soloing. It says jazz musicians and like rock musicians. It says rock musicians are like basically they do a one scale fits all the chords, whereas jazz musicians change the scale on the chord. So like just say you're doing G, C and D, you know, the rock musician will go G, C and D, that's the key of whatever, and play that one scale will fit all those chords. Whereas like a jazz player will go G is these notes, this is the scale I can play over that. You know, so that's why you have that real sort of chromatic feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck that. No, I was like, wow, I can relate to that. Whereas, you know, usually when people talk about jazz, it's like, it's all about the flat nine and the sharp fifth and this, that, and the other. And you're going,
Are we going to take a different direction now with our music?
yes.
Yes.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes,
We're still going to play the same set. It's
Bay
just
City
gonna be-
Rollers. I'm telling you, we just need to do Bay City Rollers and Cliff Richard covers. And that's it. The old folks' homes. We had the old folks' homes. They were letting anybody in there during COVID. So fucking we could have been mopping up in the old folks' home.
Well, that was population control, but that's
And I didn't mean
tinfoil
mopping
hat
up, like
thing,
literally mopping up in the old folks' homes. There's an El Gurney waiting for you.
So
You're
anyway,
name on it.
teaching's been good for you then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the serious stuff.
Yeah, so Game of Thrones. I never got to watch the whole thing. I'm sort of I flake out.
Just for you.
Oh,
Andrew Gareth.
nice one.
I flake out when it comes to like people say to me, "Oh, you should watch Breaking Bad," and I go, "It's like 8 seasons long, and they're an hour each, and there's 24 because it's American. There's lots of episodes. It's like I can't dedicate my mentality, my mental thing to that for that length of time. But like Game of Thrones, I loved like the first 2 seasons. I thought were fantastic, and then after that, I sort of drift. It's like when there were so many characters all coming in at once. Like the first season, it was literally the Starks, and then they gradually, and then by season 3, it was like, here's fucking Gary, and there's Jim over there with a sword, and I was like, who's Jim and who the fuck's Gary, and why can't he die, and why is that woman pregnant with her raps out,
And
sort
what
of
is
thing.
the secret to the pies? I want to know what made the pies so good.
I don't even know what that's a reference
There
to. So,
Neither do I.
yeah, but I obviously social media and all that. I do read up on a lot of the things that I miss because it's better for me than actually watching the programs. But one of the things I noticed was because you cut your hair because you were always, what's your woman, Cersei?
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't believe I remember that. I'm so proud of myself. Cersei's, you were her handmaiden, and I always remember there was like a real fan fucking boy and girling over the fact that she had short hair. And then because I remember you telling me a story about you cut your hair, and then they were like, we might put you in because we have to pay for a wig now.
Yeah.
So that I thought that was funny because I always knew you to have short hair, and so I thought all these fucking what was it? Conspiracy theories started arising that I noticed that be like they're
Yeah.
really reading into your character, like you were the puppet master and all that. So how did you get those out there into the public? How did you
Basically, Sarah started queuing on. That's what
queue
happened.
on?
It's all her fault.
Amazingly, I think it was just such a storm at the time that people were noticing absolutely anything. And so even a very small and insignificant character, there was like, is there some significance? People were looking for so many clues for the next twist and, what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going to happen. It was very exciting. The first few seasons, the books had been published, so up to like season 5,
Yeah.
you could
knew
see
what
what was
was
happening with the
happening,
books. And then it was, everybody just really wanting to know, which led, of course, to everyone being very disappointed by the ending,
I
But
suppose
think
that when you let
build it up-
people's imaginations run wild, you can never meet their expectations anyway.
Yeah.
But
Seems to happen a lot.
I seen a good thing. It was basically George R. R. Martin didn't really know how to finish off. It's just another conspiracy.
Yeah.
He didn't know how to finish off the series.
Yeah.
So he let the HBO do what they wanted, and then seen how everybody reacted to that, and then basically wrote something different. So I was like, that's market research done on a global scale, and that's the theory that I heard. So
The ending, like at the end of like any show, is like I think people are just disappointed that it's over.
It's over, yeah.
And you can't satisfy everyone. I wasn't annoyed. The only thing that got me was in the final. If they'd stuck the final 2 episodes together, I think it would have been nice because then you would have had all the chaos.
Yeah.
And then a little decrescendo, and then everybody goes off on their merry way.
because you had all the
thing,
action.
Yeah, there was something similar with Line of Duty because the second last episode was the big kind of blowout episode,
Yeah.
and then the final episode people felt was a bit, a bit of a softer ending. But I think that's just when you're tying up something that's been running for so many seasons.
Yeah, I think that's a natural thing.
It's the alternative. I mean, I love The Sopranos, and I've watched The Sopranos. I've watched it about 4 times every episode. And the first time I saw the ending of The Sopranos, I was absolutely furious. I was like, no. But now I love it. I think it's absolute. I can't imagine it ending any other way, because when you know it's coming, you just accept it, don't you? And with Thrones, actually, I did know what was going to happen at the end because I'd done the read-throughs for the final season. So I had a kind of year and a half to get used to that before I watched it. And then when I watched it, it was just like, that's just how it ends.
Did you read it through and go, seriously, or fucking,
I didn't read it, they sent me the scripts, but I didn't read them because I wanted to hear them read aloud, and be part of that. It's really good fun. That was how I actually first got involved with Game of Thrones, was doing the cast read-throughs. And I did that in this first season, and I did it in the last season. So sitting in that room and hearing everybody read the script, and Brian Cogman reading this sort of screen directions, it was like, that was a really cool way to hear the ending. And so I just kind of accepted it, and then didn't tell anybody for a year and a half. I did have some fun telling people things that weren't going to happen. just for the crack,
You would you? Like, did you know fucking Bram gets new legs? He fucking grows wings and flies.
My relationship with Game of Thrones is a weird one, because it went to season 4 had aired, season 5 had aired, and I'd never watched it. But I worked in a restaurant where all the cast were regulars. But I didn't know them. A lot of people in Game of Thrones, a lot of the cast like Kit Harington, Emilia Clarke, people were really nobodies before Game of Thrones. So I had no reason to know who they were. And I remember the first time I had to serve Kit Harington. They had booked a private dining room upstairs. And I was called into the kitchen. And usually what happens is you'll be given a position number on a table. But because they were also well known, like Jason Momoa was up there and everybody, I was basically told that's for Jon Snow. So I was given this dish. So then I go up the stairs,
and I'm
walking around the room looking for the Channel 4 news presenter, because I didn't know who this character was. I did not know. So then I realised this guy was sitting, the only one without food. So I went, well, there you go. So I worked in this restaurant for 7 years. I did not start watching the show until I was working there for about 5 years. And then whenever people would go, Jon Snow's in. So I thought that was his actual name. So when he'd come in, I go, all right, Jon's crack. I had no idea. But I think, even with Peter Dinklage and stuff, I didn't know who he was really. But I think he enjoyed that, because I would always be one of the regular ones serving him. And I think he enjoyed that sort of thing of, I don't care who you are.
Because you can always tell, because I'm terrible for it. I'd be like, I know who you are. I even know, cool. The only time it's more natural if you genuinely don't know who the fuck they are.
The only time I legit lost my mind, when Charlie Hunnam came in, because he was here filming Lost City. And he was meant to be in Game of Thrones,
right?
But he told me he ended up taking that job instead, and he was raising with himself because all the actors and like Kit Harington and going in, and we're just like fanboying over him because he's Jax from Sons of Anarchy, and he's a very attractive guy. So when he walked in, I was like, let's just get this out of the way.
Suck.
Because he's like 6'2", 6'3". Really,
is he? You don't really know. So
I was like, let's get it out of the way. Love you. But then he was a regular for like 4 months, so I just got to know him. But my knowing the cast and seeing them all drunk with their head in the toilet, and then watching the show, it was the first season.
That's not what he's like in real life.
Well, the first season, I was like,
he doesn't have a sword,
especially when Tyrion's just with prostitutes, and they weren't called prostitutes back then, they were just old whores. But
that's the historical.
There was so much about his character. It was like he was so promiscuous and he was always drunk. And I was like, oh yeah, I get. Yeah, I've seen him do this. Not with the women, but I've seen him drunk.
He got the live reading. Do you have any good stories? Anything? Nothing that'll get you in trouble with HBO. Like obviously,
any rap parties.
Any rap parties that anybody?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
So the answer is I do, but I don't know how I can portray these without.
I'll have to put a special a Patreon tier and
just
an extra $10 a month.
Black out the fucking thing now. Just insert scene here, and it'll come in at the end, us laughing at whatever you said.
No.
Yeah.
I met because again I only watched the first 2 seasons, so it was all the Starks were the only characters I really knew, and Tyrion, and what did you call the guy who was the actual Stark son, not Kit Harington, the actual
Robb Stark.
Robb Stark, yeah. So he used to come in to me in Belfast, as well as the two girls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
As well as the 2 girls, they used to come in, and I was like, oh, they were lovely. Like, but I remember one time. I was sitting waiting. We used to have the seating area at the front of me in Belfast at City Hall because they used to all be in the Europa and stuff and all. And he was sitting there with one of the other actresses, the big tall girl. What do you call her? Brienne, yes. So they were, and they were sitting down, and all were coming in and out in a sense. So it was just him sitting in the seating area, and I was waiting on somebody meeting me, and I had finished work, and I was sitting there, and then they came in, they were like, yeah, and I was like, I know, and I was like, we were sitting there, like, I mean, from this distance to that, from where I am to you are, I was like, I feel I need to say something, and I went, I know who you are. I know who you are. Well done. And just got up and left, and he's probably going, I know who I am too.
That's like what people fear coming to Belfast is like some bearded fella leaning over saying, I know who you are. You know?
Don't like your acting sorts around here.
It's kind of threatening.
You think you're king of the north, do you cunt?
It's funny though, dealing with people like that. But that's the thing. I mean, when you go to work with them, you're all at work. We all dress and go to the toilet the same way. You know, everyone's the same.
We'll go to the toilet the same way. Everybody sits down, regardless. We all have to sit down.
Don't you?
It just well, depends on what I've had to drink. Who did you? Was there anybody you fangirled over whenever you first seen them in the show?
Well, I mean, I thought Lena was amazing, and getting to work closely with her was pretty awesome. She's a really awesome person, very, very down to earth and fun, and that everybody's very relaxed on set when it's sort of Lena's filming because she's so easygoing. But she's just an incredible actress, so it's like, wow, how do you do that? And Maisie, actually, watching Maisie Williams, she's just, and from season 1, you know, in the read-throughs when she was so young, she's just always like completely there. And so with people like that, it's just exciting as an actor to get to watch them and be like, wow, how do you do that?
That's the one thing with Maisie Williams, you actually seen her acting getting better and better. Like in other things that she done, she did that one, the social media thing, where she was like being stalked online and blackmailed and all that. Right, I remember seeing a couple of things of that there. I was going, God, that's such a different. Yeah. It's way, like, I know Game of Thrones is dark, but it's overall it's quite lighthearted to an extent. You know what I mean? I know there's killing and all that sort, but it's not like a real.
Sick in the head you are.
It's not, well, it is. Well,
it's a family romp.
It's not. It's no snuff film on a Sunday morning, but you know, it's. But like, I wouldn't class it as like super heavy dark. It's mainstream entertainment. It's not like you're watching fucking some sort of, you know, like 8mm with Nicolas Cage, which was really fucking dark, if anybody's ever seen it.
I have to say, working with Kelly MacDonald on Line of Duty was...
I was going to ask you about her, actually.
I've loved her for so many years. And I've like followed her career ever since Trainspotting. I think she's amazing. The last couple of years, she's done some just incredible performances in television. That she did a show called The Victim for BBC Scotland. I don't know if you saw that. She was incredible. And Giri Hadji, which I absolutely loved. Boardwalk Empire, which I'm a huge fan of as well. And when I auditioned for Line of Duty, I had no idea who else was going to be in the scenes. You know, you just get the scenes. And then when I found out that it was Kelly MacDonald, I was actually like, I'm not going to be able to handle this. I'm not going to be able to hold my shit together with her because I just love her so much. So I was like telling myself, I was like, don't tell her you love her. Just don't tell her you love her. So, and then I felt kind of awkward because I wanted to tell her I loved her, but I was trying not to make her feel uncomfortable.
That's one of the always things that always plagues me. Like the little niggling thoughts, will always stay with you for over the years, because obviously you're in the business of any creative industry because they're the most recognizable people in the world, no matter if music or art or whatever, you know, within your field there are superstars. And I was always going, like, if I met, like, say, Dave Grohl, for, like, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not the biggest Foo Fighters fan in the world. That was a bit of alliteration there. Foo Fighters fan. But like, how would you approach? Because it's like you kind of want to acknowledge the fact that you know their work and really love them for their work, but you don't want to be fucking like rubbing them, and you know, but you, because they're just people at the end of the day. Because like, if people come up to you and they're like even within music, and you're like, you're class, I could never do what you do, and you go, I find it quite easy to do what I do to an extent. It's not special to me, so it's kind of like you don't want people come up and going like, if anybody's ever, there's a guy I met a couple of times in one of the open mic nights in the Burnt All, and he knew who I was, and I was like, he's like, oh fuck, you're Gavin Ferris. And it's like, I am. Like, and that's not special. And he really made me feel awkward. And I, like, not in a bad way. Like, I knew, because I've done it to people. I'm not allowed to meet famous people. But because
it's a different kind of context as well. After a live performance, someone's done a live performance. It's it makes sense to maybe go up to them and say congratulations. That works. But if you're kind of on a set with somebody, or you see somebody in a restaurant, it's like it's not really the right time to start completely fanning out.
David Schwimmer said there was funny. I was thinking about the other day because the Friends reunion's coming up. Friends reunion, yay! James Corden, but
he's in everything.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about Ricky Gervais at the things saying about James Corden dressed as a fat pussy because he did cat. Just sprung into my mind there. But no, I always remember David Schwimmer. There was like an interview, like maybe like season 5 in Friends, where like really at their peak, in terms of notoriety. And I remember him saying, he was like, somebody posed the question like, what do you do, like deal with autographs and fans and all? And he's like, well, if I'm having a hot dog randomly, by all means. But he's like, if I'm having dinner with my family, and I was there, and it always stuck with me that there. So it's like, it is the context of.
There definitely is decorum. There's a thing that people need to remember. But my favourite, like any dealings I had, like back to Thrones, my favourite part was getting to know, like Brian Coughlin.
Yeah, Brian's a great guy, isn't he? Yeah.
I still drink with bars are closed, but Tommy, I would drink with Tommy every Thursday in the Hewitt.
Who's Tommy, just for the listeners?
The guy who did the Armory.
There you go.
He's probably the top of his field. He's done like all the Bourne films, Mission Impossible.
He's a lovely fella, so he's big giant of a fella, knock you out.
Yeah. Really, he's a really nice guy. And then like people like Dan Sackheim, who was a director, who I'm still friends with to this day. Like his whole family would still I would get messages from time to time, just how are you? Like they live in California, but I always had a really good relationship with Jack Bender, the director who he directed Lost, and he was a really awkward customer
because he knew what he'd done to Lost, and he carried that with him for his. I should have stopped after the second series.
But he was the type of customer who would come in and like you give him a menu, and there was like 40 dishes on the menu, and he would go, I'm feeling like salmon today. Could the chef make me some? I'm like, there is no salmon, Jack. But he was that kind of guy. He was really eccentric.
Did he say, can you take away the salad but give me like bacon?
Staff always they were like, staff didn't have any patience for him. But I was like, I didn't mind, because what he would always do was he would order a bottle of wine, take 2 glasses out of it, and then give me the rest. So I was like, and he'd tip you well. But there was one year that Thrones cleared up at the Globes, and I knew he was coming in for dinner that night. So I was standing at the door waiting for him to come in, and we had vases of flowers on every table. So I took the flowers out of a vase, hadn't had them behind my back, and he walks through, and he was the type of person, he would sort of bounce into a room with a lot of energy. So he would walk through the door and go, Nick, how are you? And I was like, Jack, congratulations on all your Golden Globes, in front of the whole restaurant. He took the flowers off me and hit me with them. But there was that kind of
dynamic.
Yeah, because he was like, there's no pomp and circumstance, there's no frills here, and that,
What's the weirdest thing, Eddie, have you got, like, because you've done a couple of the Comic-Cons, the local ones, I think?
I did one Comic-Con. Yeah.
How was that?
It wasn't for me, to be honest with you. It was really nice. It was a really nice experience, and I'm really glad I did it. But I felt just, the publicity side of things is tricky for me.
Strange.
And so when you've got loads of photos of yourself, and it was really nice. Everybody I met was just so nice. And it was really nice, but I did find it quite tiring, because you meet people all day, and I felt it was a strange experience for me
was
to
that
be doing
the Belfast one or something?
It was the Belfast one.
Do you think maybe because Comic-Cons are fucking huge, and like Ireland, like Northern Ireland, Belfast is tiny in comparison to everywhere else, but do you think it would be something like if it was like a bigger one invited you, like something like a London one or
San Diego,
or like a big one? Do you think?
Yeah, I guess I'd go to one of those for the experience. Of course, I don't think they're very likely to ask, but I would for the experience. But yeah, it's not something that I was kind of like, oh, I love that, I want to do more. Do you know? I probably felt maybe a little bit
mentally talking to people all day. Like,
yeah,
it really is.
And I just felt a bit like, why am I here?
Well, you're here because we're sick of talking to each other. So.
Well, that's it. You're our.
But yeah, it was really nice to meet the other people who were there as well. There was just some really interesting people. So it was a good experience.
Have you been hit up with any fan things that you thought was a weird interaction? Like fucking.
Well, occasionally, you get contacted by people on social media or something.
People.
It's generally quite nice. People are very friendly. I tend not to go too much into social media either. Yeah, because I'm quite a private person. So
To be honest, I was very surprised that you replied to me whenever I said to you, "Do you want to do this?" Because I said, "Fuck, I have," because we were putting together the list, and I wanted to get like equal amount of women and men on. I wanted people from all over. I don't want like just musicians or comedians or something. And I was going, "Fuck, anyone out?" And I was like, "Oh, Rwanda," and then it was you, and I said, "Fuck, I haven't seen anything from Sara online in months now." Like, so when I was like, I'll send her a message and see if she gets back to me, because I can't even remember if I had your phone number or anything. Cause
yeah, I went completely off it for a little while. I think at the start of COVID, I was not using it a huge amount before that, and then at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, okay, social media is just another element of crazy I don't need right now.
Oh yeah, it definitely amplified. Fucking, that was the Marshall to the guitarness of fucking
It really was.
idiots that were out there. It was just like, it's like, use your critical thinking. It's like, but I am, and you're nuts. Like, I'm using my critical thinking to make that assertion.
People are getting their scientific facts off Belfast Live comments section.
Do you know what I do? Like, I found like the way I digest information completely changed, because I'll look at the Belfast like Telegraph or the Irish News or something like that there, and I'll read the headline, and I know from the headline I myself have made assumptions without even reading it.
Oh yeah.
But then I was like, before I read it and then find out exactly what the fuck's going on, which usually is one paragraph long, and then it's like pay 13 quid to see the rest of this article. But then I go to myself, right, once I read it, I go, right, well, I can't make, you go to yourself, I was wrong maybe on this, or things change, but then you go down the list, I read the comments section first to see what everybody else thought, and you can just point out the people that are reasonable and well balanced, and they're making and then you can just go crazy, and then I read it, and then I go, yeah, their craziness wasn't well founded. This is like, I don't understand why you would get that annoyed about Teletubbies or something.
Well, we had our own social experiment on that with the tiramisu fiasco.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, my foyer and
that was when that happened to him. We laughed about it, and then I saw an opportunity. I saw one, for free advertising, and two, let's just make everybody look like dicks here. And the comment section was like, I can't believe it. It was when people were slabbering about him
for buying tiramisu.
Like Fanuna was replying to them, but they didn't. But then he was replying to them and going, "People stay to him, fat bastard, whatever." But they didn't know he was the guy, even though I
was making fun of myself and agreeing with them to see if they'd pick up on the fact that because they were like, "Oh, his family must be disappointed in him and all." And I was like, "I know he looks like a fat fucking scumbag. Of course, he's eating tiramisu and all that." And they were like agreeing with me, and it's like, "You have not read the fucking article, because you know fine rightly that it's," because I screenshotted it. I know I popped up in my mind the other day. It was like, I put that up as a post, so every year for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be reminded of that one girl who didn't realise that she was talking to me about me and making fun of me to me. Like, I was like,
that was so funny.
That was one of the best things that's ever happened to me, which is kind of sad. Like.
But I never slept. Oh my god, he's just on here to promote his podcast, and I was like,
yes.
That was the
here's
whole
the
point.
link. Here's the link. But the thing is, if that girl who interviewed me and phoned me and interviewed me ever listens, it actually did happen. We were not bullshitting you.
Yeah.
It was just that we bullshitted everything else after that. So, but yeah, that was fucking. That's my claim to fame. My Belfast Live. That's what really started getting me into the video edit and stuff, because that's what I've been doing. So, have you picked up any new skills yourself?
I was making a lot of kombucha for a while.
Oh right, that's one we haven't heard.
Oh really?
I think you should be on kombucha.
It's good actually, but then it was just too much commitment to the scobies.
Bacteria and stuff, isn't it? It's like a weird, like, I always imagine like coleslaw type stuff.
Bacteria and yeast, and then you make it gets all fizzy. Add
Just
some
leave
fruit
some
to
bread
it.
out for a while.
It's a wee bit alcoholic. It's tasty and it's supposed to be very good for you, but it was just quite a lot of commitment, and I've not been. I'll probably do it again at some point.
So that was your thing.
That was my thing, and gardening.
Gardening. Oh, I think everybody took up the old gardening. Like, it's actually really, really nice.
Oh, I love gardening. Yeah.
Excuse me. Our back garden's a fucking shambles, and I made it like in like January. There, I was like, right, I have to start getting this ready for the kids now.
Yeah.
So basically, fucking new fence, new everything, and it's like it's one of those things like you actually feel your house is more of a home once you do your garden. You have wee flowers and all in your garden.
It's so stress relieving, getting your hands in the ground and the dirt's like really grinding. You just feel like,
Connect with the earth that's happening.
I love a bit of gardening, and then I like to sun my butthole in the back garden. Get those nice
The thing
rays.
is, I would expect you to be a guy that does that.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about you, but
or you. Or you, to be fair.
I know. Anyway, line of duty. How did you actually cope though working with Kelly MacDonald? Because like, how do you? Cause
She's lovely. She's so nice. It was the weirdest thing though, and also Vicky McClure is another. If someone had asked me who my favorite actresses were, I would probably have said. And she's just like she seems. She's so lovely. She's so down to earth. You get this, when she walks into a room, people relax because there's this lovely warm presence in it. But there was one point where I was sitting across, looking at the two of them opposite the table, and I was like, wow, okay, this is great. This is really great to get to be in there.
Must have helped though, the way I know the way those scenes went. It was more to do with I forget the young lad's name
Terry, the character Terry.
The character, but his actual name, forgive me, I can't remember
Tommy,
his name.
yeah.
But it must have helped that you were. I think if you would you have struggled a bit more if you were like a focal point of the scene where it was more to do with his facial reactions, because he was amazing.
Well, I mean, it was fine. You're just playing the part anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, where the camera is, obviously you've awareness of it, but you're really just engaging with the other actors and doing the scene anyway. Yeah. It was the weird thing about it was the timing, because I filmed, there were 2 separate weeks I was on Line of Duty, and one was the week before everything got shut down because of COVID, and the second was the first week everything started up again.
Okay.
So the last week, I mean, there was just this incredible paranoia. We were filming, we'd go into this room and film for a couple of hours and then come out and people were like, oh, they've closed the schools in the south of Ireland. And it just felt like the apocalypse was coming. Yeah. Everybody was like, oh, what's going to happen? Some of the actors were like, am I even going to be able to get in a flight and go home? It was quite a stressful time. And then then obviously it got shut down, and then I was in the week they started up, and it was just, everybody was getting used to this, like COVID, getting your COVID tests and wearing masks for rehearsals and social distancing and being kept separate. So it was it was just a really strange time to be filming.
It's weird because I remember whenever, like you're saying, whenever everything started, we just said about the schools and all closing, we were in London. Remember when it was starting to move across? Because of where we are from, like I think it's one of the best things, because the island's pretty isolated. Belfast especially is not a big. I know it has upped in tourism, but people are not going to choose. They're going to go to the UK. They're going to go to fucking London or something. Or they're going to go to Ireland. They're going to go to Dublin. They're not up here is a bit of a weird quagmire of a place. So like we've always been out of reach of everything. There's no earthquakes. There's no natural predators here. There's fucking. There's no like skin cancer. I don't think it's really high here because there's no fucking sun. Like all the stuff that like other countries have as like general things. Like we're not touched by any of it. And then you hear about this fucking epidemic, this pandemic happening, and in my mind I was always like, it's never really going to come here because we are so isolated from the world as a whole. But I remember being in London and we were hearing the news and there was people going to the bogs in front of us and just walking out, not washing their hands, and that's just gripes me to fuck. But that's like, even when there's nothing going on, that's fucking disgusting. Yeah. But like it was like, I remember even then, like we were hearing the whispers of things coming west, and we were sort of, the anticipation was building up in me, going, fuck, is something actually going to happen here? And then we got home to Belfast, and it was another load of weeks before anything really happened.
I went to Germany, went through Dublin Airport to go to Germany, and everything was grand. And then we came back 3 days later, and the world had changed. I was like, whoa, what? It was insane.
See what
got
happens
off the
when
plane,
you leave.
and there was hazmat suits, and I was like, what the fuck's happened here? How long was I away? But it's crazy how the world changed. No, but I wanted to ask you about, like, Line of Duty, obviously being filmed in Belfast. No, come on, this
I know, it's just the lovely, it's not a 180, it's more like a 45 degree turn you're doing.
But obviously it's filmed in Belfast. It's set in Kingsgate, a fictional place in London. But for like a lot of people,
it's filmed here.
It's when you're from here, you watch it like trying to disassociate. You're trying to write, okay, she just turned right on Royal Avenue and now she's on Tate's Avenue. What the fuck? But when you get yourself out of that sort of headspace. But the most Belfast thing I ever heard about Line of Duty happened in the filming of this season. So there was a point where there's a scene and they filmed it in Beachmount up the west.
I knew you were going to say, I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, and there's basically what happened was there was this old man who was just out walking his dog, and there was 2 lads in a car with balaclavas on. And do you know what I'm going to say?
No, I don't, but I'm enjoying it.
But the scenes, obviously, there's lots of cops and this and the other. So this man had seen where they were filming, and there was all the cop cars and this that and the other. And then he's walking down the street with his dog, sees 2 lads in a car, in balaclavas, taps on the window and goes, "Lads, I won't go down there just yet. There's peelers everywhere." And I was like, that is the most Belfast thing ever. That he's so old fashioned. He's like, it didn't matter if they were paramilitaries or whatever. He's like, "Lads, the peelers are down the street. You don't want to get caught."
He's probably thinking he's getting a wee present now from the mafia.
That's what he's off. They were like, "No, actually, we're filming."
There was another one at the top of just outside the Royal where they had basically closed that section. I think it was to film like a weird, you know, like a stop date chase scene or something like that there. And there was just everybody around because they didn't. You see that shit all the time up there. So people just thought it was like everyday life, and then it was only the cameras that give it away.
Lockdown's probably a blessing for line of duty, for like any, you know, for like the. Because there must have been filming done when there was actually
in terms of out and about,
you know, out and about.
On location shooting probably would have been.
I guess some of that stuff because the streets would have been quieter.
Yeah.
I think the amount, because filming is so complicated anyway. There's so much just goes on behind the scenes in terms of organisation, and I think having to then bring in the testing and having to rewrite things and scenes that were supposed to be inside were now outside and all of that. I mean, it's incredible what they took on and what they did with that, and I think they were so careful. They really took absolutely all the precautions that they could, and they really pulled it off at a really difficult time. I think it was a good example of what can be done because they were one of the first big productions to sort of start up, bringing all of that in, and it just shows it's like, well, where there's a will, there's a way, you know.
I think that's one of the great things that has come out of this is like there's so many. I was actually hoping that, you know, jeans were a thing of the past because everybody had gotten so used to fucking comfy bottoms. I was like, please let that be the thing going forward for everybody because it's just, I think everybody just feels
People
nicer.
only dress from the waist up now.
That's it. Shirt and tie. Everybody's dressing like that guy from that fucking Go Compare ad. You know, I remember where he had the Go Compare where he had the high heels and the hot pants on, but his suit and shirt up here. He's dancing, but he looked like Carl Pilkington with a bit of arse on him.
Yeah, for me, like slowing down has been wonderful,
Yeah.
and things will get busier, and I'm looking forward to going out a bit more and socializing a bit more, but I think I'd definitely like to keep a bit of the lower stress levels, the quieter existence. It's really, really, agreed with me.
That's the one thing I said in the mic. It's like once the work starts going up, I was like, I don't do anything anymore. I don't drink. I don't go out. I don't like people. I love people. I don't like people. And it's like I was like, I want, because I've been able to survive on the little grants that we're getting here and there, and you know, like all the thousands upon hundreds of thousands of pounds we're getting for this podcast. It's the Panama. Don't look in Panama. That's all right. The guy's like, I can't. I've been conditioned. It's like I'm not changing. I'm hardly spent any money on anything that I don't need anymore. Every bit of money I've spent has been either on my house or equipment for doing this sort of stuff. So it's not like I've just been I'm going to get a takeaway and then go out for pints and then, you know, buy a brick of fucking hash. Or like none of that happens anymore. So as I saying to myself next year, it's like, see, once our work starts, I want like 20 grand in the bank this time next year, just because I'm not going to spend a penny. I'm really going to pay my mortgage and, you know, get old, and that's about the height. And I'm kind of all right with that now. Whereas before I'd be like, I don't want to go, like I don't want to stay in. I always felt like, you know, the FOMO.
Absolutely,
I always felt like that. Like, do you want to go down to the open mic night and the Burn Doll? Even though I knew it was going to be terrible, I was like, right, I need to go anyway because I'll meet people and all that. It's like, I don't fucking care about this anymore. I'm just going to stay at home and
the hardest
watch
thing
TV.
for getting rediscovered again, because like for us, like, we were definitely there was an ascent.
Good trajectory.
It was a good trajectory, and
We were
work was
very
coming our way.
booked to be very busy last year.
But then, because that's people kept saying to me, "Oh, it's all right, Mick, it's just on hold." I'm like, "No, it's not on hold."
It's not
Kind
the way
of
it
feel
works.
that we have to pay the dues again.
Don't make a joke.
Wasn't
I can read your mind. I
wasn't
can
going
read
to.
your mind. You did a pause, and I knew. I was like, "Don't do it."
But you know, you have to sort of earn that keep again and get. You know, we're kind of like the wedding calendar is grand. People just rescheduled and rescheduled and rescheduled. But those bar gigs and just
Because
that sort of the general
said
public
that
discovery.
we're not doing too bad in June and July. We've got Stendhal, we've got Dalriada. By the way, Dalriada, I got a message today, so they're wanting us to do a thing and then do the main stage. So main stage of Dalriada, apparently.
Why
So
we're doing the main stage of Dalriada?
because
I
they like the cut
can't
of our
remember-
jib.
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but the lady of the castle, whatever her name may be, we did the
That's right. We give her a wee blew her a wee kiss on the portrait on the way out. So
we
we're-
did, because
You
last
need
year
the
for
castle.
Dalriada, basically because they couldn't have a crowd, they were like, look, all the acts.
I was wearing this exact outfit.
That's right, so you were. Brought everybody in like on different days to do like a COVID-friendly recording and stuff, and reports came back that she liked the cut of our jib and demanded that we be on the main stage next year. So, But the thing is, it's really funny. It's because it's a family-friendly show, and you know us very well.
Yeah, I do.
I know I'm very good.
So
when I
basically-
You're
know
family
not to
friendly
curse.
when you don't speak.
The only this is the thing. Between all the songs, like he's doing the talking. Usually when we're upstairs, we're having crack together. But see, when it's family friendly, I don't open my fucking mouth.
Yeah, he's
the
not
only
allowed.
thing I said was at the end, "Hi, mum."
And that was quite literally the most family friendly thing you could have
I
said.
can't say anything because. But then there was that time we lived at Radio Ulster, and he warned me because we'd never done BBC together.
Don't
He's
say
like, "Look,
fuck
you-"
or
he's like,
bugger.
You can't
type of thing.
be. He said you got to be very, very, very. I was like, that's fine. I can do that. We did the interview, and the as it's radio, so they point to you whenever they want you to speak, so no one's talking over each other.
Sarah wouldn't know anything about that. Wouldn't you, Sarah? You've never been on TV or radio.
No, but, all right. For those people watching there, those ones, right? Anyway, but the presenter wanted to talk to me about my violin, and you see my violin, it's that sort of shell kind of a thing. And he's like, "Oh, is that a Stradivarius?" And I was like, "No, it's not a Stradivarius. It's just some cheap thing." Blah blah blah. And I said, "Actually, on the topic of Stradivarius, I recently discovered there's a women's clothes shop. Oh, there's a shop in Belfast called Stradivarius," and I got really excited. And then I discovered it actually only does women's clothes, not a violin shop. But when I said it sells women's clothes, he butted in and went, and then he got really excited. I was like, "But
that
you
is a
fucking told
nice
me
joke.
not to say
No,
anything."
but that's saying anything, here fucking a priest, a rabbi, and a fucking bishop going to a bar. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't, none of the shit like that there.
But the
I don't
presenter
say
even
wank
stopped.
again.
He stopped and was like, and then had to continue.
I remember the only thing I remember for doing the radio interviews was whenever I said to what do you call your girl from the Arts Extra show?
Mary Louise Muir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were just chatting before as they're setting up, and she was just talking about like the state of things, and I says we need, like in my opinion, we need a cultural and a psychological societal revolution. And she stopped and she went, "Oh," like as if I was about to go all fucking socialist on her or something. Like, and I do believe that. I think we're all fucked in the head. But
the guy with the Simpsons tattoo has.
Homer, Gears of War on the other side. But she was like, "Oh," and I was like, "That was my." And then I spoke about like shit in general, because I remember her saying at the end, going, "That was a fairly change of pace from you saying revolution, to fucking playing the Eagles or something."
Aye, definitely. Have you anything in the works?
That's what I was going to say. Is there anything coming up?
Well, yeah,
that you
there
can
was
tell us about that?
there was a film I was lucky enough to work on at the end of last year called Mandrake, which is a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
It's a sort of I mean, it is
Is it-
pretty. It's a pretty full-on movie. It's great. Like
Is
the
it
script's
based
fantastic.
on any of the Harry Potter things? Because the
No.
Mandrake is the
No,
one of the plants.
It's pretty scary. It's really good though. The script is very well written, very dramatic, really gripping. I sort of sat down to read it and couldn't. It was one of those ones where you couldn't put it down. So I was filming on that in just before Christmas, and hopefully that's going to be released at some point this year.
Is it a big budget thing, or is it more of
was
an independent?
More of an independent thing with local. Local crew, local director Lynn Davidson, who's amazing, and Paul Kennedy produced it. And so that was really great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. There was another little independent called Stranger with a Camera, which I had a small part in. That was filmed before lockdown last year. So looking forward to those
loads of
coming
stuff
out.
there. Good.
At the minute, I'm just kind of looking forward to hopefully doing a bit of music again. When Nick and I, we had all sorts of plans to, get on with some recording over lockdown, but it's still not really materialized. Although I've been learning a lot about, recording at home, and finally actually recorded a guitar track I was happy with for the first time ever.
You play it and you get 90% through, and then the last 10% because you're about to finish recording, and you balls it up, or you hit a note where it's like, I can't cover that up in any way, so I have to do the whole fucking. I've been through the process. Red light syndrome. As soon as it goes on, it's like, you just can't do shit. But on the for Nick, we will get you on, Nick. We will.
Well, he's been really busy composing and recording. He's been working away prolifically throughout this.
Nick is unbelievable. He's one of the best pianists I've ever seen.
I mean, he's just some solo piano stuff he's been sending me recently is absolutely
Such
incredible.
a lovely guy as well. Such a
Yeah,
lovely fella. You tend to find people that with that sort of talent are usually from a real fucking hardcore classical background, and they're kind of arseholes about it. Any classical pianist that I've met has been a bit of a dick about it, because they know they're so good. The ego is inflated as well as the talent sort of thing. But with Nick, you don't get that. He's a lovely guy, and I miss him. Keep your bag away from me. He has, when he comes on, you'll fucking a fucking bag, the satchel.
I'm not going to be able to stop thinking because I had forgotten about it, and then when you brought it up, I was like,
he had a bag.
Still has the bag.
His
Does he?
His vape.
I think he still has the
He's
bag.
probably thrown it away 6 times and it's made its way back into his fucking house somehow. Like some sort of crazed doll. But yeah, it used to follow me about everywhere. Everywhere I turned, the bag would be sitting there. He'd be like, how did that bag get from there to here? And then he'd be like, right, okay. And then he'd lift it and take it away. And then, but he did say to me at one stage, he's like, I have been leaving it around you. Like, as well, it was just coincidence beforehand, but it was like an intentional fucking mindfuck.
Do you want the bag?
I want the bag to fucking die. I can just imagine it's the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. You know, it's bound in human flesh. And fucking, the stitching is soaked in blood and stuff and all. You know, and open it up and there's a face on the inside type of thing. Fucking, yeah. So that bag will fuck itself.
Fucking hell.
But yeah, so we're coming up to the hour mark. That's we found out the hard way that my laptop, as good as it is and as new as it is, for processing Final Cut, when it gets over an hour, it just kind of goes, it just can't be bothered anymore. So we've been keeping it under an hour.
Yeah.
To just to make my life easier.
It keeps the sponsors happy too.
Keeps the sponsors happy.
Whoever they are.
Yeah, whoever they are.
We do legit actually have a podcast sponsor.
I thought they just give us stuff when we said their name 3 times.
We'll leave a discount code.
Okay. Well, sure, we'll put that at the end.
I'm not gonna
What here? Any final thoughts?
Thoughts for the day.
You know, anything? What are your plans? We bit of brunch. We bit of.
Today is teaching and workshops this
brilliant.
afternoon. So yeah,
In your
in my box, in my perspex box.
Please see that I do like go into like an anchor man. I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Well, the thing is, Gavin, I want the students to come back. So,
But they might. That's a fairly pop culture reference there.
it's
Like,
it's a pretty serious way to test out their commitment.
Hello, David. I hope you've learned your Hamlet. Yeah, I'm not good. I couldn't act. My mum always says I was a good actor because whenever I hit my leg, it dropped to the floor and rolled about like a fucking Italian footballer. She's like, "You'd be a great actor or a politician because I talk shit." My mum, words of encouragement, and she paid her £1 for the patron. So I told her we get 63p of that, and she was like, "Oh, well, fuck."
That's just ridiculous.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Sarah,
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's good fun, I'd say.
Nice to see a person that
it
isn't
is.
him.
You know, I was thinking, you guys, I used to just run into you guys all the time. Just like every couple of weeks I'd see you. And then it's suddenly been over a year.
I hope you're getting good use out of that guitar stand you stole off me that time.
It's still in the boot of my car. You can have it if you want.
I actually thought about that today. I was like going, fuck, remember that? Because I said you just keep it.
It's never left the boot of my car. It's been in there the whole time. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's handy to. Sometimes it's like, oh, I need a guitar stand. There's one in the boot of the car. But you're very welcome
You're
to
selling
it.
the guitar.
Using it for gardening as a troll.
That's right. You're hanging a few baskets off your fence.
Right, yeah.
It's a good idea, actually. Fuck. All the ideas are flying through my head now. I know what I'm doing with all my guitar cables that are broken. I'm going to start fucking sewing shit onto it and putting it around the fence and all. But anyway, that's for the next podcast with Charlie Dimmock.
I wonder whatever happened to Charlie Dimmock.
She's still going.
Alan Titchmarsh's got a show on Classic FM.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that I always thought, Charlie Dimmock never wore a bra and she worked with a guy called Alan Titsmarch. So it's like, surely Charlie's tits marching. That's our final thought for the day. So yeah, thanks very much, folks, for tuning in. I'll say next week we'll have somebody different because we don't know what order we're filming these in. So yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. I appreciate it. And,
thanks for having me.
Have a lovely day. All new episodes of the String Ninjas podcast every Monday on all major streaming platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Or subscribe to us to get early access to both the audio and the video versions of the podcast at patreon.com/String Ninjas.
The String Ninjas Podcast.